Hello and welcome to the United Stand. Hope you're doing really well. Lots and lots to discuss on the United Stand tonight. Jose Mourinho slamming Manchester United's transfer policy in his press conference today. And Ronaldo apparently forcing a move to Manchester United or PSG this summer. We'll give you all that detail and a lot more. But I want to start off with, for me, and I think many of you will have picked up on this straight away because we were tweeting it out of United Stand Twitter account this afternoon after Jose Mourinho's press conference at 2 o'clock. Basically, the idiotic press will jump on that he was winding Jurgen Klopp up because he said he was asked a direct question about the Van Dijk £75 million deal, and Mourinho said, I think you should ask him about his comments a year ago when Klopp basically said, you know, any club can go out and spend big, but he wants to do it differently, and obviously he's gone and done exactly the same thing. That was a non-story for me because Mourinho actually quantified it by saying, well, fair play to Liverpool. And the most important comment and the real dig at Manchester United, and Mourinho is a very clever man at doing this, he did it in the summer. He said I wanted 4 and he only got 3, and he's made it very clear that he didn't get the players he wanted in the summer, and we know Perisic was one of those, and we know that we didn't get Perisic because the club wouldn't spend, well, let's be generous and say another £10 million on him. They wouldn't spend 50 instead of 40. What Mourinho said is, if you pay a crazy amount of money. If you don't have the player. Simple as that. And that was Mourinho on transfers, and he said, and fair play to Liverpool for doing it. So what he's basically saying is, if you want a player, sometimes you've got to pay a silly price. But if you don't pay it, you don't get the player. And I think what he was basically, well, I know what he was basically saying. He was basically saying, fair play to Liverpool. £75 million for Van Dijk is ridiculous, and everybody knows that. And Mourinho alluded to it by saying, you know, he's not one of the best centre-backs in world football, and far from it. But Liverpool wanted that player, and they paid the price for the player. Of course, it's way too much, but it's a choice between not having the player and having the player, and Liverpool have that player. Manchester United, last summer, Mourinho wanted Perisic. Woodward and the board would not sanction going high enough to get him. So we didn't get the player. So for that 5 million extra to get Perisic, we didn't get the player. You know what? It's ridiculous what Liverpool have paid for him, Van Dijk, but they got the player, and Mourinho's right, and I think that's what he's saying. It's what I've been saying for a long time. Manchester United need to go out and spend the money, and I'm getting irritated by people who keep saying, well, Mark, you've always said United shouldn't be a chequebook club. Well, we shouldn't be a chequebook club, but unfortunately, the team that's top of the league is an open chequebook book. The squad we have at the moment isn't good enough. The youth we've got isn't ready, so the only way we can close the gap is spending money. I don't like it, but it's factual. It's the only way we can do it. And also, we've got loads of bloody money anyway. A very interesting thing came out today. I think it was the Forbes rich list. The most valuable clubs in the world are in 3rd place Barcelona, in 2nd place Real Madrid, and in 1st place Manchester United. I think it's something like 3.7 billion. And yet we can't spend another 5 to get Perisic. So, you know, we know what the issues are. So Mourinho, well, I don't think he was very subtle. He's basically saying to the club, you need to spend the money and give me the money to get the players I need in. Otherwise, we just won't get the players, and we'll continue, and I'll try and overachieve with the players that I've got at the moment. I've been asked a lot. I was doing a Q&A on Twitter about half an hour ago about what realistic players we can bring in the summer. And they would be, in January. Griezmann update from Atletico Madrid is this. I never knew this. We were always speculating. Some of you got it right. Many of us got it wrong. So Atletico Madrid president has come out and said that Griezmann release clause in January is still €200 million. On July the 1st, it drops down to €100 million, which is £89 million. So Griezmann's not coming in January. I thought the release clause dropped down to €100 million in January. It doesn't. So we won't be signing Griezmann because we're run by a businessman anyway, and he will say, well, we'll wait till July the 1st and we'll get him for half the price. So that's not going to happen in January. So, you know, we're not going to get Dybala in January either. So I don't think we're going to get Ozil. So we're probably not going to get a number 10. We're going to be going from January to May with Mkhitaryan, Zlatan and Lingard as our number 10 choices. So we're not winning the Champions League. I think we can forget that. We've got no chance of winning the Champions League if we don't bring a decent number 10 in. In relation to wingers, we spoke about Carragher last night. There's a little bit about Bale again. That's not going to happen in January either. Malcolm, maybe. We'll see what happens with him. And then a midfielder that I would go for, who's refusing to sign a new contract at Schalke, is Goretzka. He can do everything. He's very similar in relation to what he can do in relation to Pogba, because he can go forward and back. He's pretty much a done deal to Liverpool, I've been told. I know a couple of people who are quite close to Liverpool Football Club, and they've said that Goretzka's going to them, because I've been talking about him coming to us. And I'll have to take the L on that. I'll have to sit down and take a big L, because I think Van Dijk for £75 million is a joke. But if they get Goretzka, I'm sorry, sometimes you've got to sit back and say, yeah, he's a good signing. And I think Naby Keita's a good signing for them as well. So Liverpool will have got Van Dijk, Goretzka and Keita in the next 6 months. And we, I don't know what our plans are. I hope we've got good plans. And I think if Mourinho could get the players he wanted to, he'd have far superior plans than Keita or Van Dijk. But it worries me that United, I was asked a question today as well, how do Manchester United get rid of the Glazers? And the simple answer is they don't. They don't. They are making so much money out of our club. Why would they ever walk away from it? They won't walk away. So January is going to be very interesting. I don't want to get downhearted before it's even started, but I'm not confident of what's going to happen in January, because I look at what's available and I think, well, we need a number 10 and a winger, and who's the number 10 going to be? I think we're going to wait for the summer for the number 10. And with all due respect, Lingard got us a point against Burnley. He isn't going to turn it. Lingard's not going to turn it around when we're 2-0 down to PSG or Juventus or Real Madrid or Barcelona or even Man City. Lingard's not going to, Lingard's going to disappear in games like that, and Zlatan certainly will. And Mkhitaryan already has. So we're not going to do very well in the Champions League without a number 10. I was hoping we were going to buy one. I'm still half hoping that we could do something around Ozil, but I think Arsenal would rather die than let that happen. And a winger, Felipe Anderson from Lazio has been mentioned. I like the look of him, but he is a risk. He is a risk. Ronaldo, let me talk to you about Cristiano Ronaldo to Manchester United. So basically, Cristiano Ronaldo's buyout clause is £880 million. Obviously, he's been linked to us every single summer since the dawn of time. But there was a fallout with Perez last summer around his tax bill, and apparently that is a relationship that will never be healed. And Ronaldo wants a deal to be done around his release clause to knock it down to £90 million, because he's into his 30s now, that will enable him to move on in the summer. And PSG and Manchester United have been mentioned. I don't intend to spend many minutes on this, although suffice to say, Ronaldo won't come back to Manchester United. He's a stat padder now, and he wants to keep winning Ballon d'Ors. And coming to Manchester United at this moment in time would not be very good for Ronaldo. We're not the best club in the country. We're struggling. It's hard work at Manchester United, and Ronaldo won't want that. Ronaldo will go to PSG, where he can stat pad in a one-horse race and do well in the Champions League, surrounded by decent players. So I think Ronaldo, if he did leave Real Madrid, would go to PSG, not Manchester United, very quickly. I also wanted to just draw people's attention to Andrew Ellis says Fabinho should come to United in January. I would like Fabinho, but Fabinho doesn't offer us anything going forward. If Pogba gets injured and we've signed Fabinho, we're still stuck with a very defensive midfield with no progression in it. Wow. Well, that was. I thought something under the table. Ronaldo would probably want to go back to Sporting Lisbon. I doubt it. I very much doubt it. Another thing, I would love Willian. I would love Willian, Risa. I would love Willian, but I don't think Chelsea will be stupid enough to do that. And we need to finding the new Ronaldo, says Gungshi, which I agree with. I'd love Ronaldo back as a fantasy. I'd love it. Absolutely love it. Another little subtle thing that I don't think many people would have picked up on in relation to Manchester United at the moment is we've got a massive injury crisis at the moment. Fellaini's out, Carrick's out, Bay's out, Darmian's out, Valencia's out, and I think Anthony Martial's out. Despite my preview I did at lunchtime, where Martial's been back in training, I've also read this afternoon that Martial's out. And remember, we've got 2 games in 48 hours. We've got Southampton at home tomorrow, and then we've got Everton at home on Monday, New Year's Day. And United need to be taking at least 4 points from those. I mean, to be honest, we need to take 6, considering we've taken 2 from the last 6. We've got a big injury crisis. We need to be awake to that. If Martial's not available for those 2 games, I'm massively concerned. I think the reason we struggled against Burnley is that when we don't have Martial, I don't really have a lot of faith in Rashford, Lukaku, Lingard, Mata. I don't really have loads of faith in them that, oh yeah, we're definitely... That's unfair. I don't mean they're bad players, but I don't... whenever Martial comes off or Martial doesn't start, I'm always like a little bit... I don't know whether they're going to turn up today, these lads. Whereas when Martial starts, I've just got a lot more confidence. So that could be a big problem. But the subtle thing I was going to talk about was the youth. How many youth players we've got as part of this training with the team this week. I mentioned Gribben, Gomez, Twansibi obviously does a lot. And there's a few other young lads. And I think, again, we see that as a positive. But I think it's Mourinho subtly saying to the board again, I'm having to bring kids through because I haven't got the squad I need. And I think that's very, very interesting. And just finally on the transfer window, I may have said this before, but I think United have got to do stuff in January. I mean, I'm going to come up with a new reason here. I've said because of the transfer window being shortened in the summer. I've said because of the World Cup basically halving it again in the time that you can do business. And we very rarely do business when we're on tour. I've said also that because we probably need to sign about 5 players and sell about 5 players, you can't really do 10 deals in a month. So we need to use January because we can't all get it done in the summer. So we need to use January for that reason anyway. But a bigger reason for me, and I don't know what you think about this, a bigger reason for me is that actually we're only 6 points ahead of the likes of Arsenal and Liverpool now, who are currently 5th and 4th, I think. No, they're not. They're 6th, 5th and 4th with Spurs, aren't they? Because Chelsea are 3rd, we're 2nd. So if we didn't beat Southampton, or we drew with Southampton tomorrow and then we drew with Everton, that would be 4 points from 12 points that we should be getting. And when we play some of the harder teams that we struggle against, that's when these gaps will come down even further. And we could be very easily sat looking at the league table in March going, remember we were comfortably 2nd from August all the way through till Christmas, and now we're 5th or 6th battling to get in the top 4 again. And that, I think that's a real possibility for Manchester United if they don't go and do some business in January. We are sort of in this, that Man City result has been like the biggest hangover we've ever had. It's destroyed our league chances, and I think we're struggling to come back from that. And I understand that as players, they're obviously very disappointed. But they need a kick up the arse. They need rejuvenation, and they need new players and new blood to come in and not just give us creativity, but also to give us some perspective and focus towards the end of the season. Because to be honest with you, Zlatan is a disaster. I'm sure he can improve, but he's nowhere near fit enough, and he's too slow for the football we want to play. Mourinho even said that today. He said that, look, Zlatan and Lukaku can play together, but it won't be happening for a while because they need to be at the top of the games when I do that. So I mean, Lingard's playing very well at the moment. He got us the points at the weekend, in midweek against Burnley. But in the big games, I don't think Lingard's really a top 4 side number 10. Mkhitaryan's been proved not to be, and Zlatan isn't either. I think we could, if we don't do some business in January, and I think this would be the big thing I'd be saying to the board if I was Mourinho and Ed Woodward. I'd be saying to the Glazers, look, if we don't do business in January, then there's a good chance that we could go from 2nd to 6th and be out of the Champions League again. Because there is a big race for the top 4 behind us, and we've always had a little bit of a gap, and we've still got a little bit of a gap. But once that gap's gone and you're in that fight, it's very hard to get a gap going again. And I think we need to be very, very careful of that. And it's something that does concern me. I've always said it. Yeah, it was great when we were looking up at Man City and that run we had after the November international break, beating Arsenal and Watford and Newcastle, and we set ourselves up to beat City at home, and we blew it. And ever since then, we've sort of let the gap behind us close and close and close. And I'm worried that we could get pulled into that. Soph E says Draxler, Pulisic or Lamar are available. Would love any of those 3, to be honest, Soph. They'd all be good wide players. Steve Horseman again on the Mahrez thing. I just think he's too much of a risk. Nadeem says finally you are recognising Lingard. I'm not actually. I'm going to be totally blunt and I'm honest like I always am, and I always have been with Fellaini, and I'd put Lingard into the Fellaini category. He's got a lot of efforts. He has his positives, but he should be on the bench. If we want to win titles, then people like Lingard and Fellaini should be permanently on the bench. But in fairness to Lingard, we do have an injury crisis at the moment, and he did get us a point against Burnley, and he is playing well. And again, I think in these sort of games, why not play him? But long term, going forward, he's not the solution. I'm struggling a little bit. Mr. United has contributed. Thanks for that. He says, need to stop seeing this crazy transfer market as the solution to our squad issues. Interesting. £300 million of investment in youth would yield more value for money and sets up future for success. It's also true to Manchester United's identity. Really good comment, Mr. United. Thank you for that. What I would say is, and I think this is where it's always good to be even-handed, Manchester United's transfer policy around youth is sensational over the last 3 years. We've bought players from Holland, from France, from America, from Spain, from Northern Ireland, from England. 15, 16, 17-year-old real talent, and in 3 or 4 years' time they should hopefully be the stars of the future. So we have invested a lot of money in that. It started with Van Gaal, it's continued with Mourinho, and hopefully it will bear fruit. And we already know people like Twansibi, Gomez, Fosu Mensah, Pereira. you know, even McTominay to Ansibi. So there is future at Manchester United, and hopefully that in the next 3-4 years we'll have an abundance of players, you know, conveyor belt of players coming through, so that we don't have to delve into the transfer market. But I think in the immediate future, to stop that gap with Man City getting too big, we do need to go and spend a bit of money. But I think you're right. In 2 or 3 years' time, I would not be looking at spending another 300 million. And just on that, can I just say, for those people who think Mourinho spent a lot of money, £300 million is never enough for the squad he inherited. But just to add a little bit of facts to that for you, in 2008, when Manchester City were invented, and with oil money, since 2008, so nearly 10 years, they've spent 1.4 billion, and they've won 2 titles. So do the maths on that. £700 million to win a title, and Mourinho spent 300 million. So, you know, I think another £300 million is totally and utterly expected. I really, really do. And in that time, Manchester United have spent 800 million. I think it is. Miha says, what about Thomas Muller? Maybe. Snap says, welcome to all newcomers and viewers. Yes, if you are new to the United Stand, you know, we always shout them out on the watch along, which we will have live tomorrow from 4:30 for the Southampton game. We'll be live at 4:30 with the team news right the way through till full time. We've got fan cams tomorrow night as well. We've got Ross is on them, Flex will be doing it. I think Sophie's on there as well. So watch out for those tomorrow nights. But for everybody who is new to the channel, welcome. Subscribe to the channel, bottom right hand corner. Fantastic community, and big 2018 for the United Stand, and hopefully United as well. I was asked a question today, when will Manchester United win the title in the next 5 years? And I said 100% we'll win it in the next 2. I'm not always right. I said we were going to win the title this year, but to be fair, for those people who've been watching it long enough, when I said that back in August, what did I say? I said, when I look at it, I don't think we're going to win the title. But I'm going to say that we will, because Mourinho always wins it in his first 2 years. That was the only reason I said it. That was the only reason. Ellis Hamilton has just subscribed to the channel. That reminds me, link in the video description for the Coral sign-up offer. It is a £1 bet. You can win £25 on Manchester United to beat Southampton tomorrow. And we will beat Southampton tomorrow. I'm not saying it's going to be pretty, but regardless of no Martial or whoever plays, I think we will beat Southampton tomorrow. And you can get 25 to 1 for Manchester United to beat Southampton. A link in the video description is there for that. It's got to be a £1 bet though, but you'll get 25 quid back. On top of that, anybody who signs up with Coral through the link in the video description will go in the draw to win one of 2 Manchester United black away tops that we are giving away. We're giving away 2 this week because there was a problem with the website last week. So 2, but you must sign up through the link in the video description. Get Manchester United at 25 to 1 to win against Southampton, which they will, but also go in the draw for 2 Manchester United shirts. We had about 15 people sign up last time, so you've got about two chances in 15, which is very good, very, very good. Link in the video description for that. Remember to drop a like on the video as well. We've had another contribution from Ashwari Nipan. Why press and pundits always critical about Jose? The reason. Good point. You've made me remind myself about something actually I did want to discuss, which was Jamie Carragher has come out and spoken about Mourinho and said that Pep Guardiola would win the title with this Manchester United squad. Sit down, you are drunk, you stupid scouser. Guardiola, for a start, I'm not even going to tell you whether he'd win the title with this United team. Well, he wouldn't, for the simple reason he wouldn't come anywhere near it. Guardiola doesn't do challenges. Guardiola does silver spoon, open checkbook, world-class players already in-house. That's what he does. He would not come near this Manchester United job. It's too much of a challenge. So for Carragher to come out and say that is ridiculous. And I just want to say about Jamie Carragher, I mean, despite the goggles you have to wear so you don't get spat on when you sat anywhere near him, I actually thought him and Neville had a good thing going on. But it's become like WWE now. That it's just, it's fake. It is absolute fake. He's just rude and controversial to be controversial. He's got no. I don't even think he's a very good pundit. In fact, I mute it when he is the co-commentator on Sky. I think the bloke's a clown, and it's a shame because he started off quite well, but now he's just intent on abusing people and like I say, being sensationalist. So his opinion's right up there with Robbie Savage for me now. He's not a credible pundit. The general pundit and press who get against Mourinho, it is farcical, absolutely farcical. Liverpool have basically spent the same amount of money as Manchester United now, 300 million, and they're nowhere near a title, but it's always United who spend the money. Royce is injury prone, William Ainge, I do. Jose wants to be in the news, man just finds trouble everywhere, says Lamaya Said. Well, I don't think that's true, to be honest. I think he gets, I think Mourinho sells papers, that's why the press target him, and they would love to turn Manchester... I said this a year ago, they would love to turn Manchester United fans against Mourinho, and I think in some ways they are having a bit of success around that. Mourinho must be given till the end of the season, and he must also be given the funds. I mean, if Mourinho was to leave in the summer and we were to finish, you know, 6th, he'd have a ready-made excuse that he didn't get the players that he wanted, and I've got no doubts if he was Man City manager, he would win the title there, because Mourinho with an open checkbook is a good manager, as a lot of people are. Do I think we'll ever see a £1 billion transfer, says Matthew McFadden? No, I don't actually. I think trouble is ahead. I think trouble is ahead. You can't get blood out of a stone, and all the money that's in football comes from the fans, and at some point there's only so much money they can have. There's only so much money fans can pay, and we obviously have this situation now where, I mean, I do pay for BT and I do pay for Sky Sports, and I've said before, it frustrates me when it's an English game at 3 o'clock and I can't watch it. I can't pay to watch it in the UK legitimately because they don't let you do it. If you're outside of the UK, you obviously have your options for doing that. If you're inside the UK, you have your options for doing that. And if you're inside the UK, those options could stop people actually paying for Sky and BT, because you can do it illegitimately and still watch a good standard of football. That will then lead to the collapse of Sky and BT and the TV money. And that will then lead to the clubs not having so much money. I think we're a few years off it, but the bubble will burst at some point. Clubs will go to the wall, because there'll be so much money in the Premier League that Championship clubs will just go big and try and get promoted, and then they'll fall foul and they'll go out of business. So there's no responsibility in football, there's no morals in football, and the big clubs will swallow up the smaller clubs. But I don't think we'll ever see a £1 billion transfer. Mr. C, Mark only reads comments from people that donate. You're as money hungry as Mourinho. I've just read your comment, mate. If somebody makes a contribution, then of course we're going to read their comments. That's logical. And we also read a lot of comments that aren't contributions as well. So you're totally wrong. Mark, why would we drop Lingard, says Ibrahim. We dropping the lad on the team with the most passion? Doesn't make sense. I wouldn't drop him at the moment. I don't know if anybody's talking about dropping Lingard tomorrow, then that would be a very, very odd thing to do. I certainly wouldn't be dropping him tomorrow. I think he's played really, really well. It's good, you know, that first goal with the flick was really good. If everybody's fit and we buy a number 10, Lingard goes on the bench for me. Yeah. He's not a first teamer for Manchester United. I think, you know what, I know a lot of people like Lingard. I think he's a bench player, I've always said that. But I think also, I'm trying to think of somebody I really like. Who do I like? I mean, I really like Chris Smalling, I've got to be honest. I know if George Kyle's watching, he won't like that. I really like Chris Smalling. I think in November, without him, we'd have been in trouble. I think we've seen in the last 2 games without him, well, with him injured in the last few minutes against Leicester, I think a fit Smalling would have dealt with that cross against Maguire, and he certainly would have dealt with the cross into the box for the first goal for Burnley. I really like Chris Smalling. So let's, you know, if you all like Lingard, I like Smalling because it's a similar story. But if we want to win the title, neither can be in the first team. As much as I really like Smalling, I think he's been really good for us. He's a backup centre-back. And the same goes for Lingard. As much as many people like Lingard, he's a backup. This is the this is the ruthless thing I'm on about. We've got a big gap to close ahead of us, and it's 4 years since we won a title, and I think people are forgetting what it takes to win a title. That title-winning side, although people were coming towards the end of their career, it still had some real top-quality players in it. And if you want to win the Premier League and you want to challenge for the Champions League, you need a better centre-back than Chris Smalling, and you certainly need a better number 10 than Jesse Lingard. So when I have those conversations, I'm not criticising or being horrible to Lingard or you know, and I like Smalling. I'm not being horrible to him either. They're good players and they're good squad players, but this is how far we are off from winning the title at the moment. That, you know, the team that goes out tomorrow, there's probably only 2 or 3 players I think who are good enough to win a title, and that would be Martial if he starts, Pogba if he starts, De Gea if he starts, and Matic for the next couple of years, and maybe Lukaku if he can sort out. I mean, Lukaku needs to lose some weight according to Mourinho. I mean, how a club of Manchester United stature has let him put on too much weight because Mourinho thinks he's lost some pace because he's bulked up too much. I mean, that's basics. But I think we need at least 4 top-class players bringing into that team to be serious title contenders. Twitch Doctor says, we won the league with Cleverley, Anderson and Evans. Well, it's a good point, but you've only named 3 players there. There was 8 top-class players with 3 average players, and they didn't play every week. At the moment, it's the other way round. We've got 3 top-class players with 8 average players. Simple answer to that. Lukaku being injured, somebody just said there, and Andrew Ellis says Lukaku isn't good enough. Mourinho, again today, was very, very positive about Lukaku. I can't ask for anything more of him, but he's very, very tired. I'm a bit confused by that one, Jose, to be honest, because you've had more than enough opportunity to rest Lukaku. There's been plenty of times in the League Cup and in the Champions League where you could have played Rashford up front, or you could have played Martial up front. You're the one who's chose to play him every week. You can't really... I think Mourinho makes mistakes sometimes, and I think this is because he's under so much pressure, because the press are so anti-him, and obviously he's getting a bit of stick from United fans, and obviously the pressure from Man City. But I think Mourinho sometimes slips into I'm Chelsea manager mode and doesn't remember he's managing a big club with educated fans, and he makes comments that actually wind United fans up. And there was 2 today. There was the Lukaku one, which I just mentioned there. Oh, Lukaku's, you know, he needs a rest, but I can't give him a rest and all this. Well, you could have given him a rest. There was loads of games you could have given him a rest. You didn't. You kept playing him every game, so that's your fault. And then the other thing he said was that against Leicester and Burnley, we played really, really well. We have created loads of chances, and we were unlucky not to win the games. Leicester, he's right. We created enough chances at 2-1 to go 4-1 up, and we blew it. So I'll give him that one, even though he made a mistake with the Smalling thing at the end. But Burnley, Jose, don't take Manchester United fans for idiots. We were crap against Burnley. We deserved to be 2-0 down at half-time. And the best we deserved was a draw. We didn't create many chances in the second half at all. That was the problem. Lingard's goals were pretty much out of nothing. The flick was brilliant, and the shot just came from a rebound. So we didn't create any... Well, Lingard had one chance that he missed, the sitter, but we didn't create any chances against Burnley in the second half. We got what we deserved against Burnley, which was a point. We didn't deserve to win. And Mourinho disappoints me a bit when he does that, because it's like, when Manchester United fans don't try and mug us off to suit your agenda with the press that we were unlucky against Burnley, because we weren't. But we are in an injury crisis, and I think tomorrow is going to be a very, very interesting game for Manchester United, because we are in an injury crisis. We've got 6 players out, and it's an excuse. It is an excuse. If we lose tomorrow, I'm sure people will go into meltdown. If we draw, I'm sure people won't be very happy. But we have got a lot of injuries at the moment, and they're key injuries, but we should still have enough. Zenon 9, and we will have enough. Lingard and Rashford get nowhere near any of the other top 6 teams at the moment. We'll be sliding down the table in no time. Good, thanks for the contribution. Lingard and Rashford, do they get in Man City's team? No. Martial and Pogba do. And De Gea. Do Rashford and Lingard get in the Chelsea team? No. Do they get in an Arsenal team? More debatable. Spurs? No. Liverpool? No. So yeah, you're probably right. I mean, you know, Liverpool have got, you know, Liverpool would play Phil Jones and Chris Smalling happily because they've got a crap defence. But Salah, Firmino, Mane, Coutinho, there's no way Lingard's getting in there. There's no way Rashford's getting in there. I think Martial and Pogba walk into any team in the Premier League, and De Gea, and that's it. They're the only 3 players we've got. We need more. We need more. We definitely need more. Brian Tools made a contribution. Thank you for that, Brian. Thanks for everybody who's getting involved with the show tonight. Remember to smash that like button. We've got over 10,000, 2,000 people watching. 10,000 would be amazing. Let's see if we can get 1,000 likes while we're live. It's Danny Blob says, Mark, Rashford is a waste of space. Get him sold and wiped out to League Two. I'm a big Marcus Rashford fan. I always get asked who's your favourite players at Manchester United, and over the last 2 years I've always said Martial and Rashford. Rashford's 20 years of age. The records he's broken from 18 has been fantastic. He's having a bad form at the moment. I've seen it happen with a lot of kids. Ideally, he needs to be given a rest because he's not playing his way through the form. But like Lukaku, Mourinho won't give him a rest because he's played in every game this season, and there's some weird fascination with getting Rashford involved in every game this season. But I think he needs a rest. I think he, but I do think he's a top class player in the making. I just don't think he's there yet. What 3 players would I take at Manchester United realistically? Well, it changes every single day. I heard his link to Jorginho, the Napoli Italian with Brazilian origins midfielder, who is very like Michael Carrick. I like him. I like him a lot. Obviously, what was mentioned by Soph about Draxler. I'd like Draxler at Manchester United. I like Goretzka. Look, I'm going to take the L on that. When Liverpool sign him, I am going to have to say he's a really good signing in my book, and we should have been in for him. So I like Goretzka. I don't think we can do Griezmann or Dybala. So for me, it's got to be Ozil. We need a number 10. And we need a winger as well. And there are a lot of wingers out there. There are a lot of wingers we could go for. But I quite like. I just think that Carragher might be worth it. But United have surely got people lined up. Surely. Darmian should never play for us again, says Paul Robinson. And what's with Ronaldo? I'm late, says Shea. So Ronaldo wants Ronaldo's release clause is 800 million. He wants to get it down to 89 million so he can leave for United or PSG in the summer. I.e., it will be PSG. He won't come to United because he'll want a stat pad. So he'll go to PSG in an easy league like Neymar. Dylan Taylor. Mark, I'm such a big fan of yours and all, but please stop saying we'll win against or I'm very confident we'll beat, as around 90% of the time you do, we don't, like our last 2 fixtures. No, actually 90% of the time I'm right, Dylan. We should have beaten Leicester. And against Burnley, well, we were lucky to get a draw against them, but we will beat Southampton tomorrow. I'm 100% convinced we'll do it because I don't think we can afford not to. We're going to be smack back in the middle of that. You know, we could be 6th place by the middle of January if we don't get 6 points from the next 2 games. So you've got to win your home games. We will win tomorrow. Shaka Phillips, was Schweinsteiger past it? Yes, he was, unfortunately. Forsberg will be great, says Yudish. Addition for our wing play, a good alternative to Perisic. Yes, he dropped into my mind a little bit, Forsberg. I like the look of him. I would be very excited if we could do that deal in January. I do like him a lot. I really like him. Look, I think January's exciting. I think at the moment I'm just a little bit concerned about it as to whether we're going to do deals or not. But, you know, we've surely got to. Alec Campbell, you're right. I mean, I love shouting out the youth. Tahith Chong is a very serious player. He is. He's a fantastic talent. And this is the exciting thing about United. We do have to balance the spending money against what's coming through in the youth. But the youth's not quite ready yet. Do we give another season to Man City? Because Man City will run away with the title next year again. They're very firm favourites now. So for next season. And the only way United can stop that is to do some serious business in the transfer market. In 3 or 4 years' time, we might have some great youth talent coming through. But it's been proven at Manchester United as well, is you can't just play youth to solve a problem. You know, even you can't win anything with kids. When we played those kids, the class of 92, they had Cantona, Schmeichel, Roy Keane and others around them. You know, world-class players around them. If you played Chong, Gomez, Gribbin, Twansibi, Pereira, Fosu Mensah, McTominay and a couple of others in a United team and said, right, crack on with it because you're going to be the future, most of them would end up in League One in a couple of years' time because they'd sink under the pressure because they wouldn't have leaders around them to nurture them and take on the responsibility. We don't have leaders. The class of 92 came into that team and had experienced leaders to nurture them, especially the likes of Keane. You know, Ronaldo had it when he was there. Rooney had it there with the likes of Giggs and Scholes. You know, the circle had come round. You stick a youth player into the United setup now and it's sink or swim. No one's going to put an arm around you and help you. We need more leaders in our team. We do need more leaders. Twan Seaby should have more than one game, Andrew K. Yeah, he is ready. I agree with that. And Forsberg or Keita, Mark, says Daniel. Well, Keita's going to Liverpool, so of course I'd say Forsberg. Do I think we'll beat Sevilla, says Rahuf. It's a long way off. It's a long way off. Not even thinking about that at the moment. Shea says, Mark, which United legend would you put in our current team? Roy Keane. For the simple reason what I just said there, we lack a leader. We lack somebody who can just grab hold of this team. You know, I'm worried about the game tomorrow because Martial probably won't play, and I'm worried when he doesn't play. If you stick Roy Keane in that team, I'd be 100% sure we're going to win it because he just, you know, he's a leader and we don't have that. Chad says, is Fellaini to PSG realistic? I don't care where he goes as long as he goes. And Michael says, I believe the fans can force the Glazers to leave by boycotting matches and refusing to support their sponsors. I don't think the fans would do it. I don't think the fans would do it, to be honest. And I'm not sure I'm for that, to be honest. I don't agree with that. I don't really agree in boycotting games and stuff like that. And I think we'd have to fall a long, long way. I mean, look at what happened with Moyes. Look at what happened with Van Gaal, and we weren't boycotting games. So how bad would it have to go? And I don't want it to go that bad, and I don't think it will. Mourinho is the man. They've just got to give him the money. Right, link in the video description. Remember to sign up for the Coral offer. You can get Manchester United to beat Southampton at 25 to 1. Put a £1 on, win 25 quid through the link in the video description. And if you sign up through the link in the video description, you will go into a draw to win 2 Manchester United shirts. Black ones, but you can have red or grey if you want. We had 15 people, I think it was, sign up a couple of weeks ago. So if you do sign up, you've probably got 2 out of 15 chances of winning a United shirt. And also, United will win tomorrow. And I think even if the bet doesn't come off, you get a £5 free bet as well. So, link in the video description for that. Make sure you sign up and get on it. We will be live tomorrow at 4:30 with the watch-along for the Southampton game. We've got to win it, and I'm confident that we will. But thanks everyone for watching. I've enjoyed it, and the transfer window is opening up very soon. And I'm getting a feeling off the shows like we get in the summer now, where we're, I like transfers. I know a lot of you do. It's very important to Manchester United. And I like the fact that we're not just, the Ronaldo thing was mentioned, but we're not just going to focus on bloody Ronaldo to Manchester United because we're realists. But we are having conversations about what United need to do. I loved that comment from Mr. United about, what about the youth? Well, we have got plans for the youth, but that's 2 years away. It's about the now. So I'm enjoying these shows at the moment. So thanks everybody for watching and all the comments you've made. And I'm sure we'll have more and more shows of these over the next month or so. And remember, Monday, 7 AM. January the 1st all the way through till January the 31st, Transfer Daily will be up on the United Stand. For those who've not seen it, who can't remember it from the summer, own studio, big show every morning, 7 AM through January. Get you through that horrible return to work. But also, I think this has the potential to be one of the best transfer windows in a long time for Manchester United. The club just need to do what we all know they need to do. Thanks everyone for watching. Tomorrow's a big day for United. We must come out of it with 3 points. Enjoy your weekend starting off tonight, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you're new, like the video, and don't forget the offer in the link in the video description if you want to win a United shirt. Thanks for watching. I need to get some rest. Get me someone out. Get me someone out. Finest bloody Lemsip. Get me some Lemsip. That'll do the trick.